Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In the dusty pages of history lie countless stories of the rise and fall of rulers, so many that they cannot be counted. We read about their bravery and valor. We admire the grand monuments they built. But there were also some sultans whose greatness was hidden not in their conquests, but in their silent sacrifices. Today, we will speak about one such righteous ruler from the golden age of Baghdad, an untold chapter of his life, an incident never recorded in royal documents, yet preserved generation after generation in the voices of ordinary people. Let us begin. On the lonely balcony of the highest minaret of the vast royal palace stood the Sultan. His gaze was fixed upon the sleeping city of Baghdad. Though the moonlight dimly revealed the streets and alleys, the Sultan's heart was restless with concern for his kingdom. For some time, through his trusted spies, vague and troubling news had been arriving from distant regions, of farmers suffering in their fields, of merchants harboring silent resentment in market corners. These reports had robbed him of his sleep. Yet in the royal court, his courtiers spoke differently. Every day they praised the happiness of the people and the prosperity of the state. "Your Majesty, the people live in peace under your rule." Hearing these words repeatedly, doubt crept into the Sultan's heart. He felt that behind these praises, the voice of truth was being suppressed. An invisible wall had risen between him and his people, one that prevented their true suffering from reaching him. Late at night, the Sultan paced alone in his private chamber. "Do I truly know the condition of my people?" he thought. "Or am I deceiving myself by believing only what my ministers tell me?" These questions pierced his soul like sharp blades. He knew that to see the truth, he had to leave this golden cage. An extraordinary and daring decision took shape in his mind. "I will go among the people with my identity completely hidden. I will see their suffering with my own eyes and hear it with my own ears. And for that, the best disguise was one that no one would ever suspect, someone before whom people speak freely without fear." He decided to disguise himself as a helpless beggar. That very night, he summoned his eldest and most trusted minister, a man who had served since his father's reign. Hearing this dangerous plan, the old minister was horrified and begged the Sultan to abandon it. But seeing the unshakable resolve burning in the Sultan's eyes, he knew there was no stopping him. The Sultan said, "Before dawn, I will leave the palace. In my absence, the entire responsibility of the kingdom rests upon you. And remember, this mission must remain known only to you, not even your shadow must learn of it." A walking stick and an earthen begging bowl were arranged. Standing before the mirror, the Sultan removed his priceless royal garments and wrapped himself in filthy, coarse clothes. He smeared soot on his face and hands, adding the weariness of age to his appearance. Within moments, the mighty Sultan was transformed into a destitute beggar. With a heart filled with faith, he raised his hands in prayer. "O my Lord, I set out on a difficult and uncertain path to protect the rights of my people. Be my helper, guide me, and grant me the strength to uncover the truth." In the final hours of the night, he exited through a secret tunnel of the palace. As the Sultan stepped onto the streets in the pale light of dawn, a sharp jolt ran through him. Every grain of dust in this city belonged to his empire. Yet today, through a beggar's eyes, the familiar city appeared cruel and alien. The cold morning wind pierced his tattered clothes, making his body shiver. For the first time, he understood how harsh reality is when one is stripped of comfort and shelter. As morning broke, the city came alive. The noise of the marketplace, the calls of workers of every trade filled the air. The Sultan sat in a corner outside a large mosque among other beggars, placing his bowl before him, head lowered. A well-dressed nobleman passed by, covering his nose in disgust to avoid the stench. That silent humiliation pierced the Sultan's chest like an arrow. Never in the palace had he imagined such cruelty toward the poor. Hours passed. A few coins and dry pieces of bread lay in his bowl. Despite his hunger, he did not eat. His real hunger was for truth. He overheard two silk merchants whispering, "This year the Kotwal's men have ruined us. Beyond the fixed taxes, they demand bribes. If we refuse, they seize our goods on false charges." Nearby, a vegetable seller trembled as a customer shouted, "Why is spinach so expensive? Have you started robbing people?" The old vendor replied, "Brother, what can we do? The market leaseholders doubled the fees. If we don't pay, we're not allowed to sit here. Half our earnings go into their pockets." These words entered the Sultan's ears like molten lead. He had not raised taxes, nor had he approved such market policies. So who was taking this extra money? He realized corruption had infected the very machinery of his administration. As the sun set, he walked into the poorest quarters of the city. Narrow, filthy alleys, stench of sewage, people crammed into dark huts, malnourished children, sick elders without medicine. He learned that the free medicines from the royal hospital never reached this area. Sitting beside a dejected young man, the Sultan asked, "Does the Sultan not care for you?" The youth laughed bitterly. "The Sultan is like the moon in the sky, visible but unreachable. Before our cries reach him, his judges and officials swallow them." The Sultan lowered his head in shame. Even justice, the pillar of his empire, had been sold to corruption. That night, exhausted and starving, he rested in an abandoned inn. Faces of suffering people haunted him. "I have failed as a ruler," he thought bitterly. But then faith stirred within him. "Perhaps Allah brought me here to show me this truth." He swore to uproot this injustice. Suddenly, a tall, strong man cloaked in black entered the inn. Only his sharp, intelligent eyes were visible. He approached the Sultan and said, "Your bowl may be empty, but your eyes say you are no ordinary beggar. I see concern for the kingdom and suppressed anger." The Sultan froze. The man smiled gently and said, "Do not fear, Your Majesty. I am not your enemy. Why is our Sultan dressed as a beggar today?" The Sultan looked up. The man revealed himself. It was Bakhtiar, former commander of the royal guard, unjustly exiled through conspiracy. "I have eaten your salt," Bakhtiar said. "I could recognize you in any disguise." Bakhtiar revealed the entire conspiracy, how the Grand Vizier Ajmal, the chief Qadi, and the Kotwal were plundering the state and planning a coup. Together, they built a secret resistance. They gathered evidence, account books, bribery witnesses, stolen grain records. After weeks of danger, the time came. A secret message reached the loyal old minister. A grand emergency court session was announced. Ajmal believed victory was his. But as the court gathered, the doors burst open. The Sultan entered, still in the beggar's clothes. Behind him stood Bakhtiar and the oppressed people. Silence fell. The Sultan exposed everything. Evidence was presented. Witnesses spoke. The corrupt officials had nowhere to hide. By royal decree, their wealth was confiscated and returned to the people. Justice was served. Bakhtiar was appointed Grand Vizier. The court echoed with cries of victory. Tears filled the people's eyes. The Sultan thanked Allah silently. He had learned a timeless truth. A ruler's true strength is not his army or wealth. It is the love and trust of his people. Assalamu